Good evening, everybody. It is 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing just dandy. How are you doing on your side
I'm
of town?
doing I'm doing well, doing well. It was a busy day, but I survived, lived to tell the tale.
That's good.
Yeah, so no complaints, no complaints. How about you?
Same, yeah. Just really more side stuff, more minor stuff that we don't have to get into in this stream. It gets too into the weeds about trying to publish apps on the Google Play Store.
Oh,
But again,
sure,
let's talk
yeah.
about something fun. Let's
That's a
talk about some fun
that's a
stuff.
different podcast. That's like a YouTube tutorial.
Yes, exactly. But other than that, everything's going just. I was looking forward to doing a stream tonight, hanging out with you, and doing some fun stuff, which is animate Calamity Jane.
Yeah. I didn't have my self view on there for the first couple of seconds, so I apologize. But here I am.
Oh.
I'm all over the place tonight. But so what are we animating tonight, or shall I say you are animating and I'm taking the credit for?
Either way, we're all in this together. It's a team effort for making a cartoon. So,
Exactly.
mm, yeah. So, let me share my screen. Yeah. Let's see. I left off this last week with this scene where she sees the Warhog appear from screen right,
Mm-hmm.
and then it enters in. Here's the animatic, and eventually I'll get to animating the Warhawk and causing some stress. Um, we see the townspeople close their doors, out of fright of hearing the Warhawk enter into their lives, and the Warhawk took, turns to siege Calamity, and I will animate this scene where she goes, ah, and then runs off screen.
Okay.
So I'll be
Okay.
working on this. So the plan is I'll take some of these assets that I worked on last week and try to hodgepodge them and make this scene here. So that way, and again, just to be efficient and try to do as little drawing as I need to, unless I need to do extra poses, which I probably will do a couple of in-betweens from here to here. But yeah, so we'll see where I get to tonight. I don't think it'll take too long, but yeah, we shall see.
All right. All right.
Yeah, so I think last week you and I were talking. We were going to talk about two different. We had refresh my memory. Where did we leave off last week? Do
We
you
talked
recall?
about we mostly talked about two trailers, and two
Yeah, two
trailers only:
trailers, and then
Furiosa and Ghostbusters:
yeah,
Frozen Empire. Yeah,
and then you wanted to talk about. I think you want to talk about Helldivers, if I recall.
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't even get to it. But yes, Helldivers is the newest hot stuff video game out on the market, and I had been hearing some rumblings of it, and was like, well, whatever. I'll wait till it goes on sale, and we'll see if it has any legs. That kind of stuff, right? Generally speaking,
Yeah.
there's very few games you buy new these days because they go on sale so quickly. But then, I started seeing basically every human being that I knew that played video games was playing Helldiver 2. And I was sort of like, well, if I don't play this now, by the time I play it, it is already going to be, they're already going to have churned through it, and I'm not going to have anybody to play with. So I might as well go ahead and get it now, and just work on it from there. And so I did, and it's great. I mean, I really dig it. It's extremely superficial. It is it's a third person shooter. There's no like super gimmicky mechanics, Gears of War style, right, where you're hiding behind chest high walls and that kind of stuff. It's just a balls to the wall third person shooter. You either murder robots or insects, and the whole thing is sort of told from the same sarcastic perspective of Starship Troopers, and the similarities between Helldivers 2 and Starship Troopers is not superficial. I mean, it runs very deep in terms of where a lot of the inspirations and influences were from the military force that represents the government of Super Earth, which is the planet that you are deployed from. It's quite good. It's built from the ground up to be multiplayer. They don't make any concessions for single players. So if you jump into a single player mission, the stage is just as hard as it would be if you played with four players. So the game is, generally speaking, actually easier the more players you have on your squad. And yeah, other than that, you jump to a planet, kill bugs, earn currency to unlock better guns, and then you keep doing it. And that's it. I mean, it doesn't have any sort of like, it doesn't have the depth of, say, Monster Hunter, right? Or the novelty is pretty much the beginning and ending of the game, and your mileage will vary on it. I love it though. It is great. The problem with the game is the problem that basically every multiplayer game has, is that the online community is wildly uneven. Sometimes I'll play for 2 hours straight. I'll just find a group of 4 randos, and we'll play for 2 solid hours and just feel so powerful. I mean, just, like everybody is gelling, everybody kind of knows what their roles are, everybody supports each other and respects each other's time. And then other times, like, I'll get into a match. I was playing with a friend of mine. The player we were playing with was so obnoxious and so counterproductive towards winning the mission that when we completed the mission, we both actually blocked this random player, so we would never even remotely have the chance of encountering him again.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One of the etiquettes of Helldivers is when you die and you respawn, all of your special equipment that you call in, no one picks that up. That stays for you, right?
Oh,
and in fact, people will try to respawn you as close to that equipment as possible. Well, this guy that we played with yesterday, he actually would spawn in with 0 special equipment and then wait for people to die and then steal their equipment, right? Now, this special equipment that you call down, it takes 5 or 6 minutes to respawn. And some of these missions only last for 10 minutes, right? And since dying is such a huge part of the game, right? Your characters are expendable. In up to a certain point, you get like X number of lives to attempt a mission. And so the idea that another player would come in and steal your stuff after you respawn over and over again. At one point in the mission, my buddy Steven had enough, and he had like stolen both of our equipment, and he actually just killed him, and then we just took our equipment back. Because you can't turn off friendly fire in Helldivers 2, which is great. I mean, I don't want them to. I mean, I think that there's some tweaks that they need to make it a slightly less punitive, like not fun. There's a few instances in the game where it's just like, well, that just wasn't fun. Like that was bad. But the having friendly fire being on by like de facto, like you can't turn it off, worked perfectly for us in this one match where we were just so tired of the guy. So tired of him stealing our stuff that my friend just killed him. So we took our stuff back.
Wow.
And so it was it is interesting. It is wildly uneven. Obviously the best way to play is with friends who are equally as invested in the game as you are. And unfortunately, I think the biggest problem with the game for me right now is that there is a bug where you can't, within the game, accept friend requests. And that's the only way to become friends with players that are playing on the PlayStation 5 instead of the PC.
Yep.
So right now, like, while you can crossplay just fine between Sony and PlayStation 5 and PC, you can't do friend requests between players. And the interesting thing is that Arrowhead, the team that built the game, they haven't acknowledged that this is a bug, and they've been really good about acknowledging bugs and balance changes and things like that. With exceptions, like they've sort of secretly added a new enemy type at the highest difficulty level, and then when people ask them about it, they go, "We don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as flying bugs," right?
That one they're probably
that one's they're being coy about. But like actual issues, they've been really transparent about. and they have not acknowledged the existence of this issue, which
So
says to me that it's a Sony issue, because I'm certain that they're using Sony servers for this.
So on the flip side, so this is one of those instances where you convinced me, you sold me on the game and I bought the game, and then we ran into this issue where I just can't join you and your friends for the games because you guys are playing on PC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on PS5, and so we spent a good half hour, 40 minutes just trying to figure out ways to
A workaround,
yeah, and we found workarounds on the internet and stuff like that. So that's one thing. Yeah, it is very frustrating. So now I'm sitting on this game. I'm not gonna Now I don't only want to play it because I'm just going to play with randos, and I'm still relatively new to the game.
Yeah.
But I will say one of the things I came across is I came across the same sentiment that Arrowhead's not addressing the issue with the network stuff, but apparently, again, so doing some digging on their Discord, they did, and there was like a change log of thing. Yeah, so on the Discord they've said it there, so which is kind of weird. It's like, well, so and it feels to me these days Discord is kind of gravitating towards that. I mean, it's always been around, but it feels like people are using Discord a lot more, especially younger gamers are, as their source of information.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
And so, yeah. So I don't know, like Discord is becoming the new Insta or the new kind of way to communicate instantly with people, which is fine. I don't mind Discord's
it's okay.
Setup. It's fine. But yeah, so apparently they did address it on Discord, and they gave a whole bunch of stuff that they're aware of as far as bugs, and that is on there like twice. They listed it in two different ways of saying it.
Okay.
So they are aware of it. Apparently, I'm just speaking. I haven't gone to Discord and confirmed it, but this is just off of Reddit threads and stuff like that. So that's so they are apparently they are trying to work on it, but I think a lot of people are using more quote unquote mainstream ways of confirming stuff. They haven't really whoever their news people don't use X or Instagram or whatever. Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's a good observation, though. Yeah, I don't, I use Discord for a few things, but it's just it's interesting. It's sort of Discord is in a kind of a way a modern day bulletin board. It's weird how things come full circle, right? I mean.
Yeah.
I look at Discord and I'm like, wow, this kind of reminds me with, obviously some several modern trappings, but it reminds me of the old days of IRC and bulletin board, like /alt, alt/ whatever. And it's interesting how everything comes full circle and we just keep reinventing the same things over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, to me, Discord, I mean, Slack to me is kind of similar to Discord too, but I think Slack's
very
newer.
Similar. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is like a bulletin board service that way too. But yeah, or IRC, it does remind me of that too. It's kind of funny. But they're new. It's new to newer generations of gamers and stuff. So it's kind of the flavor of the month thing again. I like using the term, I guess. But
it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that they would at least acknowledge it somewhere. I mean, I'm happy to just be wrong about that.
Yeah. So and it kind of yesterday when I tried to set up a game with you guys, like I was actually kind of mad. I was like, gosh, like why? Like I mean I kind of want to do my lowly one idealistic, put my flag in the ground and go, I'm going to demand a refund for this game because they're not even talking about it. But the longer I went and looked, I went, oh, they do know about it. Okay, I'll be patient. I'll just hang on to the game and wait it out, I guess. And then hopefully they address it in another week or two. It's kind of frustrating how it's been out for, about a month or so?
Something like that. Yeah, it was late February, so about a month.
But I'll wait a little longer. I mean, it is a great game. I'm as far as the gameplay, it's fun. I'm with you. It's not as robust as Monster Hunter, which is now becoming one of my all-time favorite co-op games now at this point. And again, you haven't steered me wrong. It just happens to be the devs and trying to figure out network play with Sony. It's kind of out of your control. But you're absolutely right. The game is great. But it's funny. Like I'm actually just based on what you said about your friends talking about this rando guy that was taking stuff. So yesterday, I was telling you about how I trolled because I like to troll a little bit myself, and there was one moment where one of the guys had a really cool jetpack. And again, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm only 2 hours into the game. And I took that jetpack because I thought, well, I don't want to leave it on the ground. I don't want it to just go to waste. this is towards the end where the evac ship was coming. So I took it, and then I jetpacked. I jumped out off the cliff, and then landed in a bunch of robots, and I died. So it was what I expected. So it didn't matter. But by the time we got back to the ship, that I was explaining to you before, like I thought it was because I was trolling and doing some silly things with emotes and stuff. But now, after what you just said, maybe he got mad at me because I took his jetpack. But
Yeah.
again, it was towards the end of the match. Like it was literally a counter. Like the ship's coming. It's like, what are you gonna, you don't need a jetpack now anyway. But
Yeah, no. I
that's
mean,
what yeah.
yeah. I mean, if it were in the last seconds of the game, I wouldn't be something that mattered to me. But like, we were playing, and the host dropped us in like this very bad location. So when you start a mission, you can choose where you land into the battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are better places to land and worse places to land. And he just picked this spot that I don't know if he meant to or not, but we were in the middle of all of these just bugs, and I died almost instantly. There was just nothing I could do about it, right? Like we just land, attack, dead, right? I had just enough time to call down my special equipment, put it all on, get ready to attack, and then I died. And then by the time I respawned and landed, this guy had already come and snatched him up. And I'm like, well, that sucks. But whatever,
yeah.
you know. I mean, he was, you know, if he were like level 1 or 2, that would be fine. But he was, you know, in the teens in terms of level. So he clearly had experience.
He knew what he was. He knew what he was doing. Okay, all right.
And you know, if it was just something that had happened once, I'm like, okay, that's annoying, but whatever, we'll keep playing. But he proceeded to do that the entire match. Like he would wait for someone to die and then steal their good equipment because he didn't jump down with any of the equipment of his own, right? So he became he just cannibalized his teammates and put them at a disadvantage for his own sake.
He was a jackal. He just feeding up the carcasses off of his fellow soldiers.
And so
that is not the democratic way.
It is not managed democracy. Democracy. Yeah. That is one of the hilarious things about the game is it takes a lot of cues from Starship Troopers, right? I mean, at its core, Starship Troopers is a story about fascism, right? And the way that fascism masks itself in the guise of other things, and how you can descend into fascism without even realizing it. And this game doesn't have the same, I would say, degree of social commentary that something like Starship Troopers has, but it does have all of the humorous, nonsense and just like quippiness of the commercials of Starship Troopers. It's like if you took the commercials of Starship Troopers and extended that into the overall comedy of the game, you get a sort of a sense of the vibe of the comedy, and it is legitimately hysterical, some of the things that they say and some of the propaganda videos that play and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, just at its core though, it's just a really well implemented third person shooter. I wish they handled game progression differently than the battle pass system. But it's not the end of the world, because it's like the actual stuff that you can pay for is actually pretty limited. So it has 3 tiers of battle passes. It has the base one, and I don't know how often any of these refresh. But it has the base one. It has like a premium one that you get if you buy like the special collector's edition, which you can buy at any point. And then it has like a rotating one that changes. I don't know how much. It's on the second one now, so maybe twice a month, I guess. And it's only that one that rotates regularly that you have to spend real money to unlock that one to get the contents of that. The game costs $40, so it's sub the full $70 that game companies are asking you to pay for a video game these days. And so that's good, and and it comes with a whole battle pass which has a lot of stuff on it that's just included in the game. So there is tons to unlock and tons to upgrade without buying the special collector's edition version or spending additional real money on the premium pack, right? And so yeah, I mean, there's room to complain. I mean, I don't like that kind of system in general, right? But I'm also old, and I'm used to the good old days where you bought a game and then that was it. Like you bought the game
Yeah.
and then
Mm-hmm. And then you just play it. Yeah.
yeah, and then that's obviously changed. And again, I mean, like most of the content is still that you play the game, you earn little credits, and then you spend the credits to unlock more features and make yourself more powerful, right? So it's not as bad or aggressive as something say like Fortnite or I guess Suicide Squad. I haven't played it, but everybody's read the horror stories at this point.
Yeah.
Um, or like Injustice 2, which I did play, which I stopped playing it because they nickel and dimed you for every single thing, and I'm like, I already spent $60 on this. I'm not spending another nickel just to unlock, the random chance to get a better item. Like, no, it's not. That's not how this is supposed to work, right? So, so yeah, it rides somewhere in the middle there, right? Like the loop isn't as strong as say Monster Hunter, where you actually feel like you are progressing towards something.
Mm-hmm.
The loop feels a little bit more grindy in Helldivers 2, because it's the same three currencies. Well, I guess four currencies if you include the real world currency.
Okay.
There's but anyway, it's not worth going into the detail. But there's multiple varieties of currency, which is a little bit frustrating to keep track of. And it all goes basically to the same general pool, right? Like in Monster Hunter, if you want to make the Rathalos armor, you have to primarily kill Rathalos with a couple other monsters in first, a few parts.
Yeah, there's some random things you need to do with other random
Right.
monsters if you have to hope for a rare drop or something.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
and so it encourages you to like be intelligent about the missions that you're taking, And a Rathalos has poison and fire, so bringing an armor set that's geared towards that kind of thing. I mean, Monster Hunter is very thoughtful in that way, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole tonight because we've gone down the Monster Hunter rabbit hole so many times.
Yeah.
But Helldivers 2, it's always the same currency, and it's always the same set of about 8 or 10 missions. And so your mileage is going to vary, right? Like, the game is great because of the quality of its shooting mechanics and of the quality of the cooperative play when you're not playing with, crappy players. But it is definitely not as deep an experience as Monster Hunter is. I mean, Monster Hunter is still, in my opinion, the best in class of multiplayer shooters.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there was my, I don't know, not my longest rant, I'd say, but a good, decent rant on something. So, there you go.
So, but in general, you're saying, though, that Helldivers isn't a pay-to-play situation, though. A lot of their stuff is kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it's 2/3 of it you have to pay extra for. 1/3 of that is a one-time purchase. 1/3 of that is a constantly refreshed kind of thing.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, they would love it for you to constantly be spending more money to unlock all the goodies.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's not as core to the experience as it is for some of the other sort of games as a service games that are out there.
Okay. I mean, what I like about the game is it is just easy to the commitment's not very long. You just kind of, I mean, I was kind of surprised to even find a mission that was said that estimate was 40 minutes, but most of the missions I was playing, at least on easy and on trivial, were anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. They were so quick, and I kind of like that aspect of it. Even Monster Hunter hunts, they can last. Some of them are can go fast if you're really leveled up, but for the most part, you're going to commit 15 minutes or so. It feels like, for the most part, when you're trying to play with random people and stuff like that, because you just don't know what to expect. But it feels like with Helldivers, you are pretty much fixed. Like, this is going to take this much amount of time, and it comes down to skill of doing the Konami code on whatever device you need to do.
Yeah.
There's those type of things, but the matches do feel much more quick.
It varies. I will say that once you get to the higher difficulty levels, the missions can take much longer.
Oh
But
yeah.
partially it's because they add more optional objectives into the mission.
Mm-hmm.
So the core mission you can probably still do pretty fast, but to maximize your experience and additional resources and resource gathering and that kind of stuff, you want to commit more time to the missions. And in those missions, when they give you that 40-minute time limit, like you tend to use all of it.
Okay.
Like I said, I play with that one group of strangers who is so great, and I played with them for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and we did 3 missions. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and it's because we were going into these 40-minute long missions and then doing everything on the map, right? Killing every bug hive, doing all the
Huh.
optional objectives on top of the main objective, finding all like the hidden spots where you can collect extra items. Um, and so yeah, so it does to a certain extent depend on how involved you want to be in a mission. But yeah, like the higher
Hmm.
difficulty levels, you are definitely encouraged to spend more time on each one, like to utilize the time that they give you.
Hmm. Okay. Well, eventually I'll go back to picking it up. Yeah, hopefully they get that bug fixed, and I can
Yeah,
join you guys on some missions and just kind of cheaply level up and catch up to you all and learn the ropes a little bit. But for now, I'm going to hold off and just kind of wait and see for a little bit. Although it is something to, again, like it is something to play. You have a little bit of time to kind of get one or two matches in.
oh yeah, yeah,
But man,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. But on the flip side, because I ended up having to be stuck on the outside and having a little bit of FOMO, I thought, you know what? Based on a friend at work, he recommended that I check out Mad Max on the PS4.
Oh, the
It
open
came out
world
around
one.
2015.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a while ago.
yeah, it was, and it's I was impressed. I'm impressed with
Really?
it so far. I'm really liking it. Yeah, I feel like I was yeah. This is a WB games, but this is again during the heyday of the Batman games
Yeah,
doing great and everything else. It was a very different philosophy. It feels like back
yeah,
then,
yeah,
but this game is a I feel like it's a sleeper hit of a game. Like it's like geez, like the amount of physics that are amount that the amount of different types of loops you play, whether it's being a brawler as Max or driving the car, and the physics that are involved with ramming other cars and stuff like that, you really do feel like you're in that world
hmm,
that George Miller created. I know we've been kind of in a weird kick with George Miller and Furiosa and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that was kind of part of it. Like, well, kind of want to scratch that itch a little bit more, and this feels like it feels like a gamified sequel to the movies. Like it's pretty compatible with it. Yeah, it's really well done. It feels like the developers and the artists, like they were pretty much doing fan service to what George Miller did. If I recall, like Fury Road came out around the same time, right?
it did. Yeah.
Yeah, so this game was kind of meant to be, I think, kind of hand in hand. Like, here, if
Mm-hmm.
you like that, check out this video game kind of thing. It's really well done. I do recommend it for a single player
Mm.
experience. It's terrific so far. I was, I'm, I'm impressed. So my friend was right. My friend Tom at work was right. This is a terrific game, and I'm enjoying it so far. Um, yeah, the basic idea is you lose. Uh, well, it's been out for now a lot of times, so spoiler
I
time.
feel
But
like
you
you
lose
don't.
your
Yeah, I feel like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So the black car that he has, I think in Road Warrior, is that what he is? Does he have his black car in all the movies? I can't recall. I don't
Uh,
think he does.
I the police interceptor is definitely in the first two.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember
And,
about Beyond Thunderdome off the top of my head.
and Fury Road, he doesn't even have it, right?
Very briefly, only in that first scene.
Okay, all right. So you pretty much get that thing wrecked, and then you're trying to build up another car and traverse this world. So you're going around looking for parts to get that V8 engine and try to add other parts to it. And you have this weird kind of hunchback guy trying to help you as your
Okay.
mechanic. It's so much fun
Hmm.
driving around and dealing with what I don't know what the terms are for. I'm just going to call them scavengers, the other wild people in the world. But you're busy dealing with them, or ramming them on the side of the road, or getting out of the car and just fighting with them. And it has a very similar mechanic to. And this is what sold me on it. Was my friend was telling me that it has like that. If you're missing Batman, the Arkham series game, it pretty much borrows the same kind of combat system, where you sit there and you can kind of pretty much fight and do a flow combat, and then counter, and then keep it going. And you got to build up the counter, and then you go into Max's Fury mode, where he does extra damage to people and stuff like that. It's not as complex as the Batman setup, but it does kind of scratch that itch for if you want a good old fashioned brawler type of game. They borrow really the basic essence of the Batman games in there, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, but so far, yeah. And if you like it, and I know like you always tell me about Burnout Paradise, for example, for a car game, right? This game kind of scratches that itch too. It's not exactly like Burnout Paradise with glossy, beautiful, yeah, beautiful cars, but the physics is fun. It is kind of floaty in some spots, but in general, it's a blast. I'm really enjoying it. So just a side note.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of came and it went. I feel
Yeah.
like the timing was weird because if I recall, it came out right at the same time that a bunch of other of that kind of open world style game came out. I think there was like another Assassin's Creed that came out at around that time, and the market was just so hyper saturated with games of that type. I guess it just never really found its footing.
Yeah.
Because I remember it coming out and then it was gone before I even had a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I had largely written it off because I got the sense that it was very much driven by that open world design philosophy that Ubisoft has kind of driven into the ground. You know, and I played Shadow of Mordor. And I didn't even get to the second major location in the game because I got so bored of the open world mechanics. There were elements of Shadow of Mordor that I really liked, but yeah, overall I mostly just got bored and just sort of drifted away from it. And so when Mad Max came out, it seemed kind of like more of the same, just Shadow of Mordor, just with cars and post-apocalyptic hellscape. And so I just sort of passed on it, and yeah, so it's interesting to hear that you liked it.
So far, so good. I'm about 3 hours in, but I'm liking it. It does have, I mean, it is an open world game type of thing. It kind of does suffer from that kind of thing, I think. But you know what's funny is like some games, it's really obvious. It's painfully obvious that you got to go here and do this stuff. This game, it does give you the luxuries right off the bat. You can fast travel if you want, but I actually found myself not wanting to fast travel and drive the car.
Sure.
You know, and that to me is a good sign that the world is actually pretty fun to actually be in and actually justify inhabiting it. Whereas, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2, I couldn't stand it after a while. I was just so over it. I was just so tired of it. And then the clunkiness of even having to fast travel in that game, to set up a stupid fire and do your harmonica or like look at the stars. I don't know, whatever it makes you do. I just couldn't stand it after a while. So that game to me was much more cumbersome. I know what I'm saying is blasphemy. Everybody loves Red Dead games, but
I like
yeah.
I like the first one a lot. I never played the sequel because I finished the first one. I'm like, cool, that was enough. Right? You know, it wasn't. It wasn't a world that I really wanted to dive back into. I guess. I mean, I love westerns and that kind of stuff, but
same here. Yeah.
Rockstar just has a particular way of building their games that I don't really appeal that much to me. To me, Rockstar, you know, whatever. This is my opinion, obviously. You know, I'm clearly in the minority here, given that company prints money, but to me, it feels like a whole company built on substance over, you know, form over function. I don't find them particularly fun to play. Part of the reason is like the animation systems, right? Everything is so obsessive about blends and momentum shifts and things like that. It makes everybody feel like they weigh 1,000 pounds.
It's very floaty.
Yeah.
Like almost almost like you've had a little bit too much to drink when you're moving around
Yeah, yeah,
and you're buzzing a little bit.
yeah.
I
And
don't
it
know.
just, to me at least, it always felt like and this isn't just Red Dead. This is all of GTA's modern, or Rockstar's modern GTA clones and sequels. Is the the fun factor feels almost secondary to just, oh, look how pretty it is to watch this character move around, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like I don't really care about how well the animation blends into each other if it feels sluggish to move the character to the other side of the
mm-hmm.
road.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, and also I think that Rockstar, the they just think that they're more clever than they actually are. I guess I don't know. I don't find their stories actually to be all that compelling, personally.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I miss the good old days of like everything up to GTA 3, where the story was pretty inconsequential. I mean, the protagonist for the first up through GTA 3 didn't even speak; they were totally silent, right?
yeah.
Um, and it was just all about the gameplay. And those are the days that I miss. I don't know. I guess I'm an old curmudgeon, but I would take GTA 3 any day of the week over GTA 5.
Yeah, it's funny. I never played. I played a little bit of GTA, GTA 4 and 5, and I just could not get
Mm-hmm.
into them. Red Dead Redemption, I think, because the story, I found the story pretty interesting. I love John Marsden as a character, and it was a very, I guess for me, I'm just simple. I like the whole vengeance thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really simple, to kind of know what you're doing as a character and you're running through the game. Um, but GTA would just felt too. There was just way too much stuff going on. Like you could do this and you could do that. It's like I don't want just. I just want to play a game and do something more linear.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that, I guess, in the game, but I felt like it was too much candy in the candy store. I didn't know what to.
Mm.
I just didn't know what to do with it. And I always just get bored and I just turn them on. I never bought. I never finished a GTA game up to this point. I never spent more than 2 hours in one. I tried to give it a shot, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, Red Dead.
I played the crap out of 3, and I never really got that into Vice City or San Andreas.
Hmm.
But 4 and 5, but I never beat any of them. I always, frankly, I got bored. Um,
Yeah.
because again, I didn't care about the story. I didn't actually think that the stories were particularly interesting in any context. And from a gameplay standpoint, if I wanted to play an open world game, there are far better open world games out there than the Grand Theft Auto series, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Again, I think that Rockstar, in particular with GTA, sort of abandoned any pretense of making a fun game and really leaned into the this is an experience kind of
Hmm. Hmm.
design philosophy, and that's great. It worked for them. It clearly was the right move, but it just wasn't what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped playing them, and the trailer, or the CG only trailer for GTA 6 premiered, and I was like, yeah, okay, it looks like more of the same. Not
Yeah.
interested.
And a lot of people are excited about it.
And a lot of people are excited about it, and that
Mhm.
it's more the same of something that I wasn't interested in, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of people who are incredibly excited about it, and great, more power to them. Definitely not lighting my world on fire.
They'll definitely print money with that game. I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
of
no
that.
question, no question.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Like it's funny, like uh, when I think about Rockstar, I kind of think the same way about Bethesda. Like they're kind of these big giant fish type of games, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of wondering when you know, the last game that Bethesda just came out with, what, Starfield? Is that
Yeah,
the name of it is?
Starfield. Yeah.
It was ill received and has all the same ingredients as all the other games that they've ever made. They keep recycling the same old stuff, but now people are kind of over it. So now I'm wondering,
Yeah.
is that same kind of reception going to happen to Rockstar at some point, where they expect more, and all they're doing is putting new fancier textures? I don't know. I mean, you and I aren't. privy to how they do stuff over there, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny how much Bethesda's turned heel from hero to heel in just a little bit, a couple of months.
Yeah. I don't know. The one thing that I do know is that video game fans can be a pretty fickle lot. And that's about it. You can never tell when they're going to turn on you. You can never tell when they're going to forgive you for your indiscretions. I mean, it would be a fool's errand to try to predict what fans are willing to tolerate, because what the interest in changes so quickly, and it can change in such unexpected ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was the screenwriter William Goldman who said something along the lines of, "In Hollywood, nobody doesn't know nothing," and it's just like, or some variation on that. And I think it's the same way in video games, especially given that video games these days. I mean, some of these big, big name brand ones, like the next Bethesda game, or like the games that are more famous because of who's developing them rather than the game itself, right? I mean, if you think about it, most of the hype around Starfield came from the pedigree of Bethesda's previous games, not because of Starfield itself. And then when Starfield came out and the game itself didn't live up to the expectations that the fans had created because of the pedigree of the brand, that's when it sort of backfired, right?
Yeah.
And these types of games, they take so long to make now, that it doesn't surprise me that from the time that the game is announced up to the point where the game is out, which is in some instances years and years and years, that the tastes of the players have changed. And, so...
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. Is it due out this year? The Grand Theft Auto?
I don't know. I'd have to look. GTA 6 release date, January of 2025 right now. But that's not like a hard. Oh, between January and April of next year. But that's still that's not like a hard release date. So.
Yeah, between now and then, there's going to be some hype, but maybe it was smart of them just to release in-game movie footage type stuff versus the actual gameplay, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard, but then you have to, it's hard to live up to because now games are getting so good that even even in-game footage is just as good as the actual gameplay. If you zoom in on stuff and everything, the fidelity is there. It feels like a lot of that stuff, but
to a certain extent,
yeah. Meanwhile, I think we're in a good spot to call it good for this stream. I actually jumped ahead and I started working on this pose here for Kalamity. She climbs up Mitchell's porch. So that was the original sketch, and it's a little bit of a departure somewhat, but it'll work because of how fast this scene goes. So I have enough there to kind of get some blocking in for that art. Let's go back to this part here. This is where she's going to take off. This is really fast again, but it's just there's a lot of rehashing of old assets and having them run off screen. So we have that now. And I'll probably just shrink down that asset a little right from here and then do the same thing here as she goes behind the building. So we have like 1.5 scenes kind of blocked out, which is progress.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I got tonight.
Very cool. All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. As usual, please head on over to calamityjane.rocks and consider joining us and being a subscriber as we make this cartoon a reality. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you already have since you're watching this video. We also have an Instagram at calamityjane.rocks. We post some behind-the-scenes art pieces there with a little context of what they mean. We do a little bit of other fun stuff there as well, so head on over there and subscribe to that as well. Otherwise, we will see you next week at the same Salamander time, same Salamander channel. All right, good night, everybody.